Obviously, we had to change practice up a little bit due to a couple things. We had 5 out of the 6 practices that we had pads on, and I just thought it was time to lighten up the load. We've done a good job getting through that. I've changed practice schedules 2 or 3 times because I've always talked about adaptability and how we function. And I think that's very important, and I think you guys have handled it pretty well. We had planned on going to Camp T tomorrow, but we're going to change that schedule. And the fact that there's a monsoon, and last time I checked, we don't have one of those, so that wouldn't do us any good. So we're going to stay here. We're going to go in the stadium and simulate somewhat of a game-type atmosphere for these guys. But I think for the most part, we've got some nicks and bruises. That doesn't surprise me getting into training camp. If you look around the country right now, and I don't pay attention, but I've been told that there are a lot of teams kind of similar like us. No one had training camp last year, so everyone's kind of going through the nicks and bruises of it all. Lole, right now, will get surgery on Tuesday, and we'll see where that's at. He's got a tricep. We don't know the severity of it, but it doesn't look good. I'll say that. And other than that, we've basically got some nicks and bruises. We can get through that as we get into next week. I think that's the critical part for us next week. We're about 20 days away from playing. So we've been grinding. We've been asked to do a lot. Well, that's a little bit of a concern. Got some young guys in there though, and losing maybe him could be tough. But this is why you do practice and you do all these things. Get other guys ready to play, and you got to get guys ready to play if he's not going to be available.
Coach, I know Camp T is usually a time for a lot of bonding between the teams. Do you have anything planned for this weekend?
Well, we're going to be around it. We have done that. I mean, we do that here. Like 3 weeks ago when they were still off, we went to baseball. So there's things that we do as a team collectively. We always think about that. But you're right, Camp T is a special place. It's a shame we haven't been able to go over there the last 2 years. I like the history of it. I think walking the mountain, what Coach Cush had in mind, around the bonfires, guys talking about their lives, where they came from, how they got here. That's important. But our team does a pretty good job. We do a lot of things team-orientated, where we have a lot of bonding, so that's part of it. But we're going to miss it. And, we got a good fan base up there as well. Those guys put in a nice practice field for us, and it would be nice to get up there and maybe next season we can do that.
Herm, with Donnie Henderson, on terms of the old school meter, how high does he rank there?
Well, old school, new school, I've always said this, just be the right school when it comes to coaching. And he's a really good football coach. He's got a lot of history here too. He was here on the staff, before I was, obviously, coached here. Donnie was in my training camp when I was an Eagle. Didn't make the team, but I remember him. He asked me all the time, "You remember me?" I said, "Yeah, I remember you a little bit." And then we became friends, and then obviously he was my coordinator in New York. I was able to hire him. Donnie's a fantastic football coach.
What's the status of Tommy Hill?
Tommy's fine. Tommy's fine. Yeah, he's okay. He's good.
Where have you seen Jaden Daniels, I guess just early on this season, where have you seen him grow the most in terms of leadership and ability?
Well, Jaden is one of those guys that doesn't talk a lot. Kind of like Vinny Testaverde. I had Vinny. Right? Vinny didn't say a lot, but when he talked, everybody kind of listened. And Jaden's that way. He's getting more comfortable doing that. But I think it's more of his actions, how he goes about doing things, and I think he's done that this offseason with a lot of the receivers. I think the last 2 practices, and even this one now 3, he's starting to stack some pretty good practices together. And I told him earlier, I said, look, you got to get comfortable with these receivers. And I know they're new and all that, but they're starting to get comfortable. You can see our offense all of a sudden starting to get going. They were slow out of the gates, which generally happens in training camp. And now they got a little bit of a flow going, which is kind of fun to watch.
If you had to compare the relationship of a quarterback with a receiver, what would you describe it as?
Similar to the head coach and the quarterback, really. As like you guys know, I talk to Jaden every day. He's in my office every day. It's not a day he misses. And I think it's the same way with receivers. Collectively, when you leave the meeting room, it's not over. You watch tape, you go out here to pregame warm-ups, stretch, all these things. You're constantly communicating, and you have a core receiver who's pretty good.
What have you seen from Omar Norman Lott this preseason?
You know, Omar's done a really good job. He has some quickness and has great agility, you know, and he's a powerful guy. And so he needs to play well for us. He really does. And he has some things that when you watch on tape, he's pretty natural as a rusher. You know, all of them all those big guys inside, they all think they're like Warren Sapp. They're going to get 16 sacks. That's not happening. I was just with Warren, actually, at the Hall of Fame. I go, you guys don't have to be Warren Sapp, but just, you know, just kind of muddy it up every once in a while. And when you get a one-way goal to beat somebody, beat them. And so he's got this spin move he likes. And I told him, that's fine. I said, but you can't start spinning in the B gap and all of a sudden be in the far C gap, because then the quarterback runs out of it. Yeah, coach, he spun one last night and he spun, and next thing I know, he was out there by the end. I said, you can't do that. And then Jaden stepped up in the pocket and started running. I said, that's your gap, man. So don't spin 3 gaps out of the way. But he's a much improved player. There's no doubt about that.
You talk about a spin move, though, and Benjamin might have a chance to get some reps tonight. How exciting would it be for him?
I'm excited for Reno. I really am. And that's what he needs. You know, last year was tough on those guys because there was no training camp. No really preseason games either, really. So I think now they're getting preseason games, and I think they like Reno. And he'll flourish. I mean, he's got a chance in that offense. There's no doubt about that.
So Herm, when you look at this week, the offense almost seems like a different unit compared to last week. What do you attribute the turnaround to?
Because it's just the consistency of it, and just, you know, when you play with the ball, a lot of parts have to move right. And it's always, historically, when you go to training camp, the first couple of days, it seems like the offense is kind of always behind the defense. And then all of a sudden, the offense starts catching up because, you know, they're installing plays and all this. Not saying the defense is not, but our offense, because of formations, personnel groups, a bunch of new guys at the receiver corps, you could see it. There was a lot of thinking going. Now they're more in a flow.
What have you seen from the tight ends and how they're adjusting to Coach Wood?
Well, Coach Wood has been in all the meetings, and the tight ends have done a nice job. And Coach Wood he's an excellent football player. He was interviewed for that job. You know, so he knows a lot about it, but he also knows a lot about our offense.
What would you say the mindset has been during this first week or so camp?
This is an excited football team, and I'm trying to tell them to slow their emotions down some, because it's a long way till we play. You know, and the preparation is what they got to understand. I think they do understand that. It's all about the preparation. The games will take care of themselves. Let's prepare ourselves mentally and physically and get some guys back. That'll help us. And then if we do that, we'll have a chance to play well.
What area needs the most improvement before the first game?
You ask the coach that, every area. No area is safe. You know, that's what it's about. You know, our whole motto is just win the day. Just get better every day. And they understand that. The tape shows it. And if you didn't get better, you got to ask yourself why. And then don't let 2 days go in a row where you didn't get better.
DeAndre Pierce was talking last night that he hasn't even gotten to experience what it's like in Tempe on game day.
How about that?
How cool is it going to be?
Yeah, I think for all these guys, and especially when fans are in there. And I think our fans are excited, and we've got a great fan base. I think they're excited about coming in the stadium. I'm excited about seeing them again, too. It's a fun atmosphere.
Hey, Coach, with the focus of camp and team camaraderie, how do you keep everything focused on football and keep that outside noise outside of where it is?
We've always done that. I mean, the players, you know, they take my lead on that. They get where I'm coming from. And as long as they know who to listen to. And they've never lost focus on that. I've always kind of make it real simple for them, say this is the deal. And, you know, the world is noisy, and you can't listen to the world. You got to listen to the people that you're practicing with and the coaches that are coaching you, and it's about football. And that's all we talk about is football. Anything else really doesn't matter at this point.
I want to talk about Chase Lucas.
Yes.
Different personality, obviously, than Jaden Daniels. Is he? Where's the biggest area of improvement that you've seen him in, just in terms of not only leadership but ability himself?
Well, he's improved. I mean, tremendously, just fundamentally, and learned how to play the position. That was, you know, he had talent, but he was a raw, talented player, and when I first arrived here, I mean, he was one of the first guys to greet me. And I told him, I said, hey, look, you got a chance to do something really special with you. And he understood that, and I coach him. You know, there's no doubt. I coach all of them. I'm in the room every once in a while, or I'm on the field with him. But just to watch his development from first year here and right now, become a team captain, spokesman, still a very excitable guy, plays with a lot of energy, and has earned the respect of this football team, and it's just fun to watch him grow as a football player.
What does John Stivers bring to that tight end room? You know, bringing a Harvard grad.
Yeah, well, no errors. No errors. If the coach calls it wrong, he'll remind the coach that that he didn't call it right. But he's from the Monterey Peninsula, so he's kind of from my hometown. So it's kind of ironic because he's one of the guys that kind of lived where I grew up. So it's fun to get him here, and he's got leadership, but also he brings toughness. He's tough. He's a tough footballer.
He's kind of the guys who embraces that kind of unsung
Oh
tight
yeah,
end.
yeah. There's no fair dodging. There's not a lot. Okay, this is the way I'm going. You know where he's headed. He's going to make a collision. There's no doubt about that.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Coach.